A poor woman sold water at traffic lights to survive, choosing each day between eating or buying medicine for her worsening cough. But when a millionaire collapsed in the middle of the street, she did something that would change both their lives forever. It was 11 in the morning when she saw the man in the elegant suit stumble on the city's busiest corner. She had just sold her 10th bottle of water for the day, a small victory that brought her closer to her daily goal to earn enough to buy the syrup that would soothe the cough that was slowly killing her. The man looked like an important executive Italian suit, shiny shoes, a watch that probably cost more than everything Sarah had ever earned in her life. He was talking on the phone, gesturing with irritation. "Robert, I told you to close the deal today. It's $5 million. He shouted into the receiver, completely ignoring the crowd walking around him. Sarah watched him from her bicycle, feeling that familiar mix of awe and resignation. $5 million. She couldn't even scrape together $15 for her medicine. But then everything changed in a second. The man clutched his chest, his face contorted in pain, and the phone crashed onto the pavement. His legs gave out as if they were made of paper, and he collapsed right on the sidewalk. "He fainted," a woman shouted. People began to form a circle around the fallen man. Some took out their cell phones to record, others stared from a distance, but no one actually moved in to help. Sarah dropped the water bottle she was holding. Her survival instinct screamed at her to get away, to not get into trouble, to think about her own needs, but something stronger pushed her forward. She abandoned her bicycle and pushed her way through the crowd of onlookers. "Give him space," she yelled, kneeling beside the man. His expensive suit was now stained with dust, and his breathing was shallow and ragged. "Did anyone call an ambulance?" she asked, feeling for a pulse in his neck. "Yeah, but they say they'll be 20 minutes because of the traffic," a voice from the crowd replied. Sarah felt her heart race. 20 minutes. From the man's pallor and his irregular breathing, she wasn't sure he had that much time. "Sir, can you hear me?" she whispered gently, touching his cheek. The man's eyes flickered open for a moment. They were filled with terror and confusion. "I can't breathe," he murmured, his voice barely audible. "Stay calm. Help is on the way," Sarah told him, though she didn't believe it herself. She loosened his tie and undid the top button of his shirt. "What's your name?" "Richard Sterling." "Richard, I'm Sarah. Don't fall asleep on me." But Richard closed his eyes again, and this time his breathing became even weaker. Sarah looked around desperately. The ambulance wasn't coming. People were just watching, and every passing second could be the last for this man. Then she remembered something she had learned while caring for her father during his final days. When emergency services fail, you have to become the emergency service. She stood up and looked at her rusty bicycle. It was a crazy idea, dangerous, probably impossible, but it was the only option she had. "Help me lift him," she yelled at the crowd. "What are you going to do?" an older man asked. "Take him to the hospital. On that bicycle, you're crazy." Sarah ignored the comments. With the help of 2 bystanders, she managed to get Richard onto the back of her bicycle, leaning him against her back. It wasn't safe, it wasn't comfortable, but it was the only thing she could do. "If he falls, he could be killed," a woman warned her. "If we stay here waiting, he could be killed too," Sarah replied, settling onto the seat. The nearest hospital was 12 blocks away. Under normal circumstances, it would be a 15-minute bike ride, but these were not normal circumstances. Sarah began to pedal, feeling Richard's weight against her back. He weighed much more than she had calculated, and her old bicycle protested with every foot she traveled. "Hang on, Richard," she whispered as she pedaled. "We're almost there." But she had only gone 3 blocks when she heard the most terrifying sound of her life. The chain of her bicycle snapped in 2. The rusted metal hadn't withstood the extra weight. Sarah got off and looked at the damage. Without a chain, the bicycle was useless. Richard was still unconscious, precariously propped up on the back seat. For a moment, Sarah felt that all was lost. She had no money for a taxi. She didn't know how to drive, and carrying a 180-pound man in her arms was impossible. But then she saw the watch on Richard's wrist, a Rolex that probably cost more than a house. And she realized something. He had all the money in the world, but right now the only thing that could save him was her. She took off her worn-out shoes, tied them to her waist, and began to push the bicycle. With Richard unconscious on the back seat, and her running barefoot on the hot pavement, she began the most desperate race of her life. The stones cut her feet, the sun burned her skin, and every step was agony. But she kept running, pushing that broken bicycle as if she were carrying the most precious thing in the world. "Help!" she shouted at the passing cars. "I need help!" Some drivers honked, others slowed down to watch the spectacle, but no one stopped. In their air-conditioned cars, everyone was in a hurry to get to somewhere more important. Sarah kept running. Her bare feet left small, bloody smudges on the pavement, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. "Richard, can you hear me?" she shouted over her shoulder. "Don't fall asleep on me." But Richard didn't respond. His head lolled to one side, and Sarah wasn't sure if he was still breathing. By the 5th block, her strength began to fail. Her legs were trembling, her lungs were burning, and the cough she had been ignoring all morning returned with a vengeful force. She stopped for a moment, bending over the bicycle as she coughed. When she wiped her mouth, she saw blood on her hand. "Not now," she murmured. "Please, not now." She looked back at Richard. His face was paler than before, and Sarah knew there was no time to rest. She kept pushing the bicycle, but now she was also fighting against her own crumbling body. The cough doubled her over every few yards, and her feet were bleeding so much that every step felt like walking on broken glass. That's when the traffic officer appeared. "Hey, miss," he shouted, running toward her. "What's going on?" Sarah stopped, gasping for breath. "This man is in critical condition. I need to get to the hospital." The officer looked at Richard, then at the broken bicycle, then at Sarah's bloody feet. "Do you know him?" "No," Sarah admitted, "but he collapsed on the street and the ambulance isn't coming." The officer looked at her as if he were seeing an alien. "You're risking your life for a complete stranger." Sarah didn't answer. There was no time for philosophical explanations about why some people help and others just watch. "Can you help me?" was all she said. The officer nodded and spoke into his radio. "Dispatch, I need a patrol car at 5th Avenue and 12th Street. It's a medical emergency." While they waited, Sarah kept talking to Richard. "We're almost there. Help is really on the way now." 2 minutes later, the patrol car arrived. Between the officer and his partner, they moved Richard to the back seat of the car. "Are you coming?" the officer asked Sarah. Sarah looked at her broken bicycle, her bleeding feet, her hands stained with blood and sweat. Then she looked toward the car where Richard was fighting for his life. "Yes," she said, without hesitation. "I'm coming." During the ride to the hospital, Sarah kept talking to Richard, though she no longer knew if he could hear her. She told him about her day, about the bottles of water she sold, about the syrup she couldn't afford. "You know what's ironic?" she whispered. "You can buy any medicine in the world, and I, who can't even buy a bottle of syrup, am the one saving you." When they arrived at the hospital, everything became a blur. Paramedics, doctors, nurses rushed Richard towards the emergency room, while Sarah was left at the entrance, barefoot and bloody. A nurse approached her. "Are you a relative of the patient?" "No, I just helped him." "You need medical attention. Your feet are badly injured." Sarah looked toward the doors where Richard had disappeared. "Is he going to be okay?" "The doctors are doing everything they can, but he got here just in time. If you had been 5 minutes later..." Sarah felt her legs tremble. She collapsed into a plastic chair in the waiting area, and for the first time all morning she allowed herself to feel the pain of her own wounds. She had saved the life of a millionaire who didn't even know her name, and now she was sitting in a hospital barefoot and bleeding with no money to treat herself. The irony of the situation hit her like a slap, but she also felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, the feeling of having done something that truly mattered. She didn't know that at that moment, as doctors fought to stabilize Richard Sterling, her life was about to change forever. She didn't know that her act of unconditional kindness toward a stranger would be the beginning of a story that would challenge everything they both thought they knew about money, love, and what's truly worthwhile in life. 3 days later, Sarah was still coughing up blood. She had returned to her corner as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't risked her life for a stranger who hadn't even thanked her. Her feet still had makeshift bandages made from rags, and every step reminded her of that desperate run pushing the broken bicycle. "Sarah, you look terrible," said Chris, the young vendor from the opposite corner. "Shouldn't you see a doctor?" "With what money?" Sarah replied, arranging the water bottles in her cooler. The bicycle had been repaired with wire and the goodwill of Miller, the neighborhood mechanic, but it still made strange noises. It was 10 in the morning when she saw the black Mercedes approaching slowly down the avenue. The car stopped at the corner, and Sarah felt her heart race. The back window rolled down, and the face that had been unconscious on the seat of her bicycle 3 days ago appeared. Richard Sterling was looking directly at her. Sarah panicked. He was coming to blame her for something, to accuse her of injuring him during the transport. Rich people like him always found a way to blame the poor for their problems. Richard got out of the car. He was wearing another impeccable suit, but Sarah noticed he moved more slowly, as if he were still recovering. "Sarah?" he asked, approaching her. "Yes, sir," she replied, bracing for the worst. "I'm Richard Sterling. Do you remember me?" As if she could forget. "Yes, sir. How are you feeling?" Richard looked at her for a moment that felt eternal. His eyes scanned the bandages on Sarah's feet, her pale face the cough she was trying to hide. "I came to thank you," he said finally. Sarah blinked, confused. "Excuse me. The doctors told me I got to the hospital just in time. 5 more minutes, and it would have been too late." Richard paused, as if the words were difficult to say. "They told me a woman brought me on a bicycle when the ambulance didn't come." Sarah didn't know what to say. In her world, helping someone in trouble was just what you did. She didn't expect thanks, especially not from someone like him. "I just did what anyone would have done," she murmured. "No," Richard said firmly. "It's not what anyone would have done. There were 30 people watching and only you acted." Sarah felt uncomfortable with the intensity of his gaze. "Are you better now?" "I had a massive heart attack. The doctor said it was a miracle I survived." Richard looked towards the traffic, then back at her. "Do you know what's ironic? I have the best health insurance in the country, the best private doctors, and the person who saved my life was a stranger with a broken bicycle." Sarah coughed, and this time she couldn't hide the bloodstains on her handkerchief. Richard saw them. "You're sick." "It's nothing," Sarah lied, quickly putting the handkerchief away. "Have you seen a doctor?" Sarah looked at him as if he had asked if she had been to the moon. "Sir, I sell water at traffic lights. I don't go to the doctor." The answer hit Richard like a slap. For 3 days he had been in a private suite at the most expensive hospital in the city, with 24-hour nurses and specialists checking on him every hour. Meanwhile, the woman who had saved his life was sick and couldn't even afford a basic consultation. "How much does a doctor's visit cost?" he asked. "Why do you want to know?" "Just tell me." Sarah sighed. "A basic consultation costs about $150. Tests and medicine cost much more." Richard took out his wallet and pulled out several bills. "Take this." Sarah stepped back as if the money would burn her. No, sir, I'm not a beggar. It's not charity. Richard stopped looking for the right words. It's a payment for emergency medical services. I'm not a doctor. But you saved my life. Doesn't that count for anything? Sarah looked at him with a mixture of wounded pride and desperation. She needed that money more than he could imagine, but accepting it would mean becoming the kind of person who expected rewards for doing the right thing. Thank you, but I can't accept, she said finally. Richard put the money away, but didn't leave. He stood there studying her as if she were a puzzle he couldn't solve. What's your illness called? He asked. I don't know. I haven't been to the doctor, Sarah replied with a bitter smile. How long have you been coughing like that? A few months. And it doesn't worry you? Sarah let out a laugh that ended in a cough. Sir, I'm worried about starving to death tomorrow. Illness is a luxury I can't afford. Richard fell silent. In his world, any medical symptom resulted in an immediate appointment with the best specialist. The idea of being sick and not being able to afford treatment was as foreign to him as the idea of flying without a plane. Why did you help me? He asked suddenly. Sarah looked at him surprised by the question. What do you mean, why? You didn't know me. I could have been anyone, a criminal, a bad man. Why did you risk your life for a stranger? Sarah considered the question. It was something she had asked herself over the past 3 days. My dad always said that we're human because we take care of each other, she said finally. The day we stop helping each other, that's the day we stop being human. And where is your dad now? He died 2 years ago, cancer. Sarah paused. He also died because we couldn't afford the treatment. The conversation was interrupted by the sound of a horn. A car had stopped at the light, and the driver was gesturing to Sarah. Water, the man shouted from his window. Sarah walked over to the car, sold 2 bottles, and returned to where Richard was standing. How much do you make a day? He asked. It depends. On a good day, about $40. On a bad day, about $20. Richard did a quick mental calculation. $40 a day meant less than $1,000 a month. He spent more than that on lunch at his favorite restaurant. Do you live alone? Yes, in a small room. Family? Not anymore. Each answer was like a punch to Richard's gut. He began to understand the magnitude of the sacrifice Sarah had made for him. Not only had she risked her life, but she had used her only resources, her time, her energy, her bicycle to save someone who lived in a completely different world from hers. Sarah, he said after a moment, can I buy you a coffee? Sarah looked at him as if he had lost his mind. Excuse me, a coffee to talk. Sir, I have to work. If I don't sell water, I don't eat. How much would you make in an hour? About $5 if I'm lucky. Richard took out a $20 bill. This will cover 4 hours of work. Sarah looked at the money, then at him. What do you really want? To get to know you, Richard answered honestly. I want to get to know the person who saved my life. Sarah hesitated. There was something in the way he looked at her that didn't scare her. It wasn't the predatory gaze she knew from other rich men who occasionally spoke to her. It was something different, almost like respect. Why? She asked. Because in 40 years of life, no one has ever risked anything for me without expecting something in return? Sarah considered her options. $20WSMORETHANSHEWLDMAKEINTHERTHIWASKILLINJUSUHER WHATDIDTHISMANREALLYWANT OKAYSHESAIDFINALLIBs BUTONLYFORANHOUR RICHARDSMILEDFORTHESMIFERSTTIMISINSCESHEDKNOWFENTHEYWENTTOUR THEWAWESARAHFELTOUTOFPLOCKASHOWFEFEASHOPTWALKEDIN EVARYONEDWASSTARINGATTATHEM HIMWITHHISEX PENSIVESUITHERHUMBLECLOTHESANDBANDAGEDFAAT WHITWOULDRICHITDOWN SARAHLOOKADATTEMENUANDWASHORIFIADBYTHEPRICOS ACOFFAECOSTASMUCHASSASHAARNADIY JUSTWATERISFINE SARAHYOUSIANORDERWAYANYIMPAYWAYNG RICHERDIORDINEXPERIENCESITENTIENWASHUNGER WHENTIEASTIMEWAYOUATEEHEASKED ITHADESITUALLYBEENTHHEDAYWAYBEEFOREYWAYESTIERDCAINHAGELFANDPUSHEDGERDCAIENICHALFANDPORTIONGER THERESURVIVAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAAIREPAA SHOMESBUTITCORYBUTITCLOSEDTWORKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITOWERKINIWORKEDITO WHYDIDTHAYFIREDMAs. WHYDIDTHAYFIROYOU RICHPEOPLEDON TWANTSICKMAIDSAROUND THEIRCHILDREN RICHARD SFEINLT IPANGOFGUILT HINHADDONETHOTSEXICUTSAMITHIOUSECANIPOSRHADGICO DIDYOUSTUDWIS IFINISHEDMYSOPHOMOREYIAROFHIGH SUS CHOOL IHADTODROPOUTWMOMDIID SOMAONAHADTOWR CONVOHALCO WHATDIDYOUWANTTODOSARAHSMILIDSADLY ONURSEA IWANTIDTOHELPPIOPLE SHEPAUSED IRONICISN SONTIOTTITIENDEDUPHELPINGJUSTWITHOUTTHEDEGREE RICHARDSTUDIESPOKE DESPITEEVARYTHINGSHEADSUFFEREDTHEREWASN OBITTERNESSINHERVOICESHEDIDN TBLAMITHEWORLDFORHERCIRCUMSTANCES SHEDIDNCHTCOMPLAINABOUTINJUSTICE such as SHESIMPLYTOLDHERSIFITWEREAWEATHEREPORT waxadidewayouverdgeasedegidwaougefenegafromtheGENEIGHBORHODOS SARAHPLAYD WITHHERCOFFEESPOON GOTSICKISPENTALLOURSAVINGSONHISTREATMANTS CHRISSAIDIWASTIOOCIOOSEBETWEEND DOINGTHEREGHTHINGUSNOTREALLOVA RICHARDFELTSOMETHINGSTIRINHISCHEST THOUGHTOFHISEX WIFESAIDIWAYOUSARAHASKID DIVORCED MYEX TOMYJOBNOTTOHER RICHARDPAUSED SHELDREN TUBWO and 12 Sutokiwewaer OLDBOAINDUATIN Twiceagair OLDGIRL ISAETHEMONWAEKINDS HESVOICEBETCAMEMELANCHOLIC DUTWECHENIMNOTWORKING SARANSTUDIIDHIM WHYDOIOUWORKSOMUCH BSCAUSO RICHARDSTOPPED ITWASAQUESTIONNONEHADEVERASKEDHIM Be at Persig on USEIALWAYSTHOUG HTMONEYWASTHINGEAMOSTINEWIFIERYTHINGEOUGEHMONEYVERSITOPLACA ANDIDITWORKRICHARDLOOKEDAROUNDTHEFEFEESAHE IHAVEHMOREMONEY HANCANLIGHTFETIMESAND THREADIWAYSAGIOIALMOSTDONANIONASIDWAYSTWINGRSPILMINGGMIDWITHTHREADWAYTHREADWAYTHREADWAYTHREADWAYSARAHPOINTEDOUT SOMCONEHELPEDYOU Twice RICHARDSAIDLOOKINGINTOHEREYIS SOMEONWHADNOREASONTO to THEYWERESILENT FORAMOMENTECHLOSTINTHEIROWNTHOUG HTS SARAHRICHARDSAIDFINALY CANIOSKYOUPERSONALQUESTIONYOUNYVEALREADYWASKEDMEABOUT 10 Ashen SHEREPLIDWITHASMALSMILE IFYOUHADALTHEMONEYINTHEWORLD WHATWOULDIDNTHESITAFORASECOND So I'm EWILDAFRI SUHOSPITALFORPIOPLIKIMAWHOGSHTSICKBUTCAN or TAFFORDTRARTMINTS YOUWOULD and TBUYAHOUSE CORNICECLOTHES THOSETHINGSARINICEBUTTHEIDONATSAVALIVAS RICHARDLOOKEDATHERWITHSOMATHINGD ANGAROUSLYCLOSE DOYOUKNOWWHATIMPRESSESMAMOSTABOUTYOU WHATEINSONINNOTEETSSARAHSHRUGGED IHAVEVYTOCARRY WHENTHERFIFTHERCHERBACKER IDON omnises TWANTTOKNOWSARAHREPLIID PROBABLYMORETHANI ENTRLLMAKEINMYENTIRELIFEI. 20 was more than she would make in their stuffed he-day, and curiosity was killing her. What did this man really want? Okay, she said finally. Buttonly for an hour. Richard smiled for the first time since she had known him. 1 hour. They went to Asmal coffee shop 2 blocks away. Sarah felt out of place from the moment they've alked. Everyone was staring at them. Him with his expensive suit, her with her humble clothes and bandaged feet. What would you like to drink? Richard asked as they sat down. Sarah looked at the menu and was horrified by the prices. A coffee cost as much as Shirna dinner day. Just water is fine. Sarah sighed. You can order whatever you want. Item paying. A coffee then. The cheapest stone. Richard ordered 2 coffees and a piece of keto share. When the food arrived, he noticed Sarah looking at the cake with an expression he could interpret at first. Then he realized. It was hunger. When was the last time you ate? Asked. Last night. Sarah lied. It had actually been the day before. Yesterday Richard cut the cake in half and pushed the larger portion toward her. Eat. Sarah hesitated, but hunger won. She'd slowly trying not to look desperate, but Richard noticed how she savored every bit of it were her last. Tell me about yourself, he said. There's not much to tell. A Zellwater is survive, I repeat. Have you always done this? None used to work in a factory, but it closed 2 years ago. Then I worked in people the shums, but when I got sick they fired me. Why did they fire you? Rich people done twant sick maids around their children. Richard felt a pang of guilt. He hadn't the exact same thing when his keeper had gotten sick years ago. Did you study if? Finished my sophomore year of high school. I had to drop out when my mom did. Someone had to work. What did you want to do? Sarah smiled sadly. A nurse. I wanted to help people. She paused. Ironic, isn't it? He ended up helping just without the degree. Richard studied Hirashi spoke. There was something about Sarah that fascinated him. Despite everything she had suffered, there was no bitterness in her voice. She didn't blame the world for her circumstances. She didn't complain about injustice. She simply told her story as if it were with a report. Did you ever get married? Asked. He was engaged to Chris, a guy from the neighborhood. Sarah played with her coffee spoon. But when Dad got sick, he spent all her savings on his treatments. Chris said I was too complicated, that I had to choose between him and my family. And what did you do? I chose my family. Do you regret it? Sarah thought about it. No. If someone forces me to choose between love and doing the right thing, then it's not real love. Richard felt something stir in his chest. He thought of Heisek's wife, of how their marriage hated precisely because he had always chosen work over family money over time together. And you, Sarah asked, are you married, divorced? Mike's wife said, I was married to me job not to her. Richard paused. She was right. Children. 2. A 12-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl. I see them on weekends. His voice became melancholic. When I'm not working. Sarah studied him. Why do you work so much? Because... Richard stopped. It was a question Nuna had ever asked him. Because I always thought money was the most important thing, that if I had enough money, everything else would just fall into place. And did it work? Richard looked around the coffee shop, then back at Sarah. I have more money than I can spend in. Lifetimes, and 3 days ago I almost did alone on a sidewalk, surrounded by strangers filming me with the earphones. But you didn't tutu wow. Taito. Sarah pointed out. Someone helped you? Yes, Richard said, looking into Harry's. Someone who had no reason to. They were silent for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. Sarah, Richard said finally, can I ask you a personal question? You've already asked me about Tom. She replied with a small smile. If you had all the money in the world, what would you do with it? Sarah didn't hesitate for a second. I'd build a free hospital for people like me who get sick but can afford treatment. You wouldn't buy a house, a car, nice clothes. Those things are in us, but they'd not save a lives. Richard looked at her with something dangerously close to admiration. Do you know what impresses me most about you? What? That you have every reason in the world to be bitter to hot people like me, but you are not? Sarah shrugged. Heart is too heavy to carry. I have enough burdens already. When they finished their coffee, Richard insisted on taking her back to her co-earner. During the ride in his Mercedes, Sarah observed the luxury that surrounded her. Leather seats, air conditioning, a screen showing stock prices in real time. Don't you know how much this car is worth? Richard asked. I didn't want to know, Sarah replied. Probably more than I'd make in my entire life. $150,000. Sarah felt dizzy. $150,000 for a car. Yes, with that money you could cure the cancer of 150 people. Richard didn't respond. He had never thought of his wealth in those terms. When they reached the corner, Sarah got out of the car and walked toward her bicycle. Sarah, Richard called. Yes. Can I see you tomorrow? Sarah looked at him confused. What for? I don't know, Richard admitted. I just know. I want to see you again. Sarah hesitated. Mr. Sterling, you and I live in different worlds. You'll go back to your millionaire life and I'll keep selling water. It's better this way. But why? Because people like you don't mix with people like me, and when you get tired of playing the good guy, you go back to your world and leave us more broken than before. I'm not like that, Richard protested. They all say that, Sarah replied, getting on her bicycle, until they get tired. As Sarah pedaled away, Richard stood by his Mercedes watching her disappear into the traffic. For the first time in his life, all his money felt completely useless. It couldn't buy him what he really wanted, another chance to prove to Sarah that she was wrong about him. Or maybe she was right, and he didn't even know it yet. Richard didn't sleep that night. He stayed awake in his sprawling penthouse, looking out the window that overlooked the entire city. From up there, the lights looked like stars, and the people looked like ants moving without purpose. But now he knew that down there in some small room, Sarah was probably coughing up blood and wondering if she would have enough money to eat the next day. The guilt gnawed at him like acid. At 5 a.m, he made a decision that would have seemed impossible a week ago. He canceled all his meetings for the day. Are you sure, Mr. Sterling? His assistant asked over the phone. You have the meeting with the Japanese investors at 10. Cancel it, Richard replied, already dressing in casual clothes for the first time in years. And the quarterly review with the board of directors too, sir. Those are multi-million-dollar commitments. Patricia. Richard interrupted her. There are things more important than money. On the other end of the line, there was a silence so profound that Richard thought the call had dropped. Sir, are you all right? Do you need me to call your doctor? Richard smiled sadly. His own assistant couldn't believe he would put anything above money. I'm fine, Patricia. I just need to do something important. At 8 in the morning, Richard was standing on the corner where Sarah sold water. His Mercedes drew too much attention, so he had taken a taxi. It felt strange to be on the street at that hour, mingling with the people going to work on public transport. Sarah arrived 5 minutes later, pedaling her wire-repaired bicycle. When she saw him, she stopped short. "What are you doing here?" she asked without getting off her bike. "Waiting for you," Richard answered simply. "Why? Because I couldn't stop thinking about what you told me yesterday." Sarah sighed and got off her bicycle. She started arranging her water bottles as if he weren't there. "Mr. Sterling, I already told you." "I can help you," he interrupted. Sarah turned surprised. "Help me with what?" "With the bottles. With whatever you need." Sarah looked at him as if he had lost his mind. "You, a millionaire, are going to help me sell water on the street." "Why not?" "Because—" Sarah searched for words. "Because people like you don't do these things. Maybe it's time I learned." Sarah studied him for a moment. There was something different about him today. He wasn't wearing a suit, but jeans and a cotton shirt. He looked more human. "No," she said finally. "Why not?" "Because when you get tired of playing the common man, you'll go back to your world and I'll still be here. But now with the humiliation of having believed that I actually mattered to you." Richard felt each word was an arrow straight to his heart. "What can I do to make you believe me?" "Nothing," Sarah replied, concentrating on her bottles. "Some wounds can't be healed with money." "But I don't want to heal you with money." "Then with what?" Richard fell silent. It was a good question. What could he use to heal the wounds that people like him had caused in people like her? The light turned red, and Sarah approached the first car. Richard followed her, feeling completely out of place. "Cold water?" Sarah asked the driver. "No thanks," the man replied without looking at her. Sarah returned to her spot, and Richard followed. "Is it always like this?" he asked. "Most of the time," Sarah replied. "People don't really see us. We're part of the landscape." Richard remembered how many times he had completely ignored street vendors, without even registering that they were human beings. The next car stopped, and the driver bought 2 bottles from Sarah. "Are you okay, honey?" the woman asked, noticing Sarah's pallor. "You look so thin." "I'm fine, thank you," Sarah replied with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. When the car drove off, Sarah coughed. This time the cough was so violent she had to lean on her bicycle. Richard rushed over immediately. "Are you okay?" "Yes," Sarah murmured, but when she wiped her mouth, the handkerchief came away stained with blood. "Sarah, this isn't normal. You need to see a doctor." "I already told you I don't have the money." "And I told you I can pay." "And I told you I don't want your charity," Sarah shouted louder than she had intended. Several people turned to look at them. Sarah blushed, ashamed of having drawn attention. Richard moved closer, lowering his voice. "It's not charity, Sarah. It's a debt." "What debt?" "You saved my life. I want to save yours." Sarah looked into his eyes, and for a moment Richard saw something he hadn't seen before: fear. Sarah was afraid of being truly sick, afraid of not being able to afford treatment, afraid of dying like her father had. "I can't accept," she whispered. "Why not?" Because then I'd be in your debt forever. What if it wasn't like that? What if it was just a favor between friends? Sarah let out a bitter laugh. Friends, Mr. Sterling, you and I can't be friends. Why not? Because you live in a penthouse and I live in a 10 by 10 foot room. Because you spend on one meal what I earn in a month. Because when you get sick, you have the best doctors in the world. And when I get sick, I have to choose between eating or buying medicine. Every word was true, and Richard knew it. But he also knew something else. You're right, he said after a moment. We live in different worlds. But a week ago, when I was dying on that sidewalk, you didn't see a millionaire. You saw a human being who needed help. Sarah fell silent. Now I see a human being who needs help, Richard continued, and I don't care if we're from different worlds. Sarah looked at him for a long moment. There was something in his voice, in his eyes, that made her want to believe him. Why, she whispered, why do you care about me? Richard considered the question. It was something he had been asking himself, because in 40 years of life, no one has taught me what you taught me in 5 minutes. What did I teach you? That there are things more valuable than money. Sarah coughed again, and this time the blood was more evident. Sarah, please, Richard begged. Let me help you. Sarah closed her eyes, fighting with herself. Finally, she opened them and looked at him. If I accept, what do you want in return? Nothing, Richard answered immediately. Everyone wants something in return. Not me. Sarah studied him, searching for signs of a lie in his face, but she only saw sincerity. Why should I trust you? Why? Richard said, thinking of the answer. Because when you helped me, you knew nothing about me. You didn't know if I was good or bad, rich or poor. You just saw someone who needed help, and you acted. Now I'm asking you to let me do the same. Sarah was silent for what felt like an eternity. Okay, she said. Finally, so quietly, Richard almost didn't hear her. Okay, I'll go to the doctor, but on conditions. Whatever you want. First, I pay what I can, even if it's a little. Agreed. Second, this doesn't make me your charity project. Understood. And third, Sarah hesitated. What's the third? When I'm better, when all of this is over, you go back to your life and I go back to mine. No drama, no broken promises. Richard felt something like a pain in his chest at that condition, but he nodded. If that's what you want. It's what I want. Richard took out his phone and dialed a number. Dr. Evans, it's Richard Sterling. I need an urgent favor. Yes, I know you're busy, but it's an emergency. No, it's not me, it's someone else. In an hour, perfect. When he hung up, he looked at Sarah. Dr. Evans is the best pulmonologist in the city. He can see us in an hour. In an hour? Sarah was alarmed. But I have to work. If I don't sell water... How much would you make today? About $30 if I'm lucky. Richard took out a $50 bill from his wallet. Take it. It's your day's earnings. Sarah looked at the money as if it were a snake. I can't accept this. Why not? Because I didn't do anything to earn it. Sarah, Richard said patiently, wouldn't you take the day off if you were sick? I can't afford to be sick. Well, today you can, just for today. Sarah took the money with trembling hands. It was more than she had held at once in months. Is the doctor expensive? She asked with concern. Don't worry about that. But I said I would pay my part. And you will after we know what you have and how much the treatment costs. Sarah nodded, though she still looked nervous. Mr. Sterling. Yes. Why are you really doing this? Richard looked her in the eyes. Because when you saved my life, I realized something. What? That I've lived 40 years without really living. Working, earning money, buying things, but never doing anything that really mattered. Sarah studied him. "And I'm your something that matters." "You showed me what it means to be human," Richard replied. "Now I want to learn how to do it." Sarah didn't know how to respond to that. 20 minutes later, they were in a taxi heading to Dr. Evans's office. Sarah looked out the window at the elegant buildings she had never seen from the inside. "Are you nervous?" Richard asked. "Terrified," Sarah admitted. "What if it's something serious? If it's something serious, we'll cure it. And if it can't be cured, then we fight." "We fight." Richard realized what he had said. "Sorry, I meant you fight. I'm just here." Sarah looked at him with a strange expression. "Why did you say, 'we fight'?" Richard didn't have a rational answer. "I don't know. It just felt natural." Sarah kept looking at him but said nothing more. When they arrived at the office, Sarah felt even more out of place than in the coffee shop. Everything was elegant, clean, expensive. The other people in the waiting room were wearing nice clothes and seemed comfortable in that environment. "I don't belong here," Sarah whispered. "Why do you say that? Look at me. Look at everyone else." Richard looked around. She was right. Sarah, with her humble clothes and sickly pallor, stood out like a jarring note in this symphony of privilege. "You know what?" Richard said, standing up. "What? You have more right to be here than any of them." "Why? Because you actually need to be here." Sarah didn't know how to respond to that, but she felt something warm expand in her chest. When they were called, Sarah got so nervous that Richard had to help her walk to the office. "Do you want me to come in with you?" he asked. Sarah hesitated. Part of her wanted to say yes, that she needed the support. But another part, the proud part that had kept her alive all these years, screamed at her not to show weakness. "No," she said finally. "I can do it alone." "Okay, I'll be right out here." Sarah went into Dr. Evans's office, and Richard stayed in the waiting room, discovering that the next 30 minutes would be the longest of his life. He didn't understand why he cared so much about what happened to a woman he had met a week ago. He just knew that he cared, and that for a man who had spent 40 years not really caring about anyone but himself was completely terrifying. Sarah came out of the office with an expression Richard couldn't decipher. She wasn't crying, but her eyes had a hollowness that scared him more than tears. "What did he say?" he asked, getting up immediately. Sarah stood in the middle of the waiting room, holding a manila envelope full of medical reports as if it weighed 200 pounds. "Sarah, what did the doctor say?" "Tuberculosis," she murmured so quietly, Richard had to get closer to hear her. "Tuberculosis." Sarah nodded, still looking at the envelope. "Advanced pulmonary tuberculosis." Richard felt the floor shift beneath his feet. What does that mean?" "It means if I don't receive immediate treatment, I have between 3 and 6 months to live." The words hit Richard like punches. "And the treatment?" Sarah finally looked at him, and Richard saw in her eyes a mixture of terror and resignation that shattered him. 6 months of special medications, weekly consultations, follow-up tests every month. Her voice broke slightly. "The doctor gave me an estimate of the total cost." "How much?" Sarah handed him a piece of paper. Richard read it and felt dizzy. $20,000. FORHIMITWASTHEHENTOFWHATTHESPENTOFWINE. FORSARAHITWASMOREMONEYTHANSHEWOULD SEEINHERENTIRELIFE SARAHIALREADYTOLDYONITWANTYOUR HANTITWAVOHEINTARERUPTIDBUTHERVOICIANOLONGRANYSTRENGTH SHESOUNDEDELIKESOMEONEDLIKESOMEEONEDWHOWASDROWNING. YTHISISN and TCHARITY, THISIS, odds, WHATWHATISITMR. TERLING, SARA Hutch Art SEYESFILLEDWITH TERSSHEREFU SEDTOSHED ININVESTMANTARICHMANSWHMANSWHYOURGOODDEEDOFTHEYEAR ITIA SBECAUSEICORE RICHARDSHOUTELOUDENOUGHFORSEVEROMTOLOOKATTHEM SARAHWIPEDHEREYSWWITHTHEISWITHCOFFERHANDTALS PEOPLELI COIDUOUSA YTHATUNTILTHAGYGATBORED IHANTUM NOTGOING TOGATBORED THEYILLS AWTHRTTOO RICHARDRANHISHANDS THROUGHCSHAIR4US TORA TED GDIDN at CERTIKNOWHOW TOMAK1 DRSTIND TRA TTOCHISW ISDIFFRON TTHIA TSHNW ISDIFFSRSN TTOHAN SOAR ASHLO OK ANTMA CHU SAIDGN TLITAKING CHUA RBIN TOCHI SHOULDRS SHERELU CTANTLYLOOKADUP CHOS IFIHADTUBERCULOSISWOULD YOUHELPME YOUWOULD fights TNEEDMYHELPYOUHAVEMONEY BUTIFIDIDN TIFIWEREPOORANDS ICKWOULD YOUHELPME SARAHLOOKIDATHIMFORALONGMOMENT YES SHESAIDFINALLYIS WHY BECAUSEITA on STHERIGHTTHINGTODO EXACTLY TALTS ANDTHTSSALLIT MDOING THERIGHTTHING SARAHGENTLYFREEDHERSELFFROMHISHANDS AJTISNOTTHESAMM WHYNOT BSEAUSE WHENIHELPADYOUIDIDNITKNOWHOWERE IDIDNRTKNOWIFYOUHADMONEYORNOT BUTYOUKNOWTHATINDMPOOR ANDTHATHHANGESTHINGS JOWDOESIT CFHANGETHEM SARAHESIFTHEWORDSWEREDIFFICULTTOSAY minds BECAUSEITMAKEESMEFEELIKEESMEFEELIKEESMEFEELIKEESMEFELITOIS RIC EINTROCHARD FELTO SOMET HIGINTROTS BREAKINHIS on CHEST SARA HIDON TSEEYOULIKETHAT HWDOYABUS EEME THEN ITWA SASIMPLEQUESTIONBUTRICHARDREALIZEDHEDIN IJTHAVEANSWER HOWDIDHESARAHASAGOODDEEDAWYTOCLEARHISCONSCIENCE ISEEYUSTHEBRAVESTPERSONIHDIFFINALLY SARAHBLINKEDSURPRISED OJESTFOI ESE WORDIOUESSOMEONEWHORISKEDHEORIFEFORASTIFANGIANGIANRETURN ASSOMEONEWHORKSEVERISKEDHEOSMIASPITATHEPAIN RICHARDPAUSED ISEYOUSSOMAONIWHOISTEACHINGMHOWBATTERPERSON SARAHFELLSILLENTPROCESSINGHISWORDS REALLYSHEASKEDINALOWVOICE REALLYSARARLOKADEATTHENVALOPAWRTSTHENBACKATRICHARD IFIACCEPTYOURHELPWWHATWILLIPENWHENWWHENIMCURED IDONITKNOWRICHARDADMITTID BUTINSDLIKETOFINDOUTUS SARAHSIGHEDDAEPLYTSUNCOKMY OKIWH8 ICCEPTYOURHELP BUTWITHONEMORECONDITION WHATISITRSYWANTTOWARKTOEARNLEASTPARTOFTHEMONEY IDONITRTWANTITALLTOBAHANDOUT RICHARD ANDRSMILIDFORTHEFIRSTTIMEALLMORNING WHATKINDOFWORK IDONHTKNOW ANMYTHING CLSANYOUROFFICECOOKWHATAVERON SARAHYOURESICK YOUNEEDTOREST NEEDTOFEELLIKEIFIN MEARNINJYOURHELP RICHARDSTUDIEDGERS HEUNDERSTOODHER PREBUDITS ELSWHOWFORAGILESHELOOK OKFHESAIDFINALLY BUTNOTHINGGSTRENUOUSANDONL WHENYOUFEILUPTOIT OUNTWORTDEAL TCHOICH EYSHOOKHANDSANDRICATWOULD Yes, COSTMORETHANSARSANNUALSALLY 4 DOTHESIPILLSREALLYCOSTTU HISMUCHASARAHASKIDLOKANGEATTTHEGOLD APIRENTLYSORICHARDREPLIDWITHOUTEVONLOKANGA TIDHETOTAL AREN TYOUGOINGTOSENHOWMUCHITIS ITDOESN ATTERHOWMUCHITISC SARAHLOKEDHIMITHAMIDIOFAWEANDDISCOMFORT TOYOUNOTHINGHASAPRICIO TOMEYOURHEALTHASNOPRICE SARAHBLUSHEDANDLOOKEDAWAYSHEWASN TODWERTU USEDTOSOMEONETALKINGABOUTHIFSHEVEREVALUABLE WHENTHEPHERMACYWYLEFTTHECHEPHARMACYHERDOFFERICHHOME NOSARAHSAIDIMMEDIATLY WHYNOTSBICAUSEAIDONTWANTWAYOUTOSEAWHEREILIVA SARAHIDONTCARA ICARDLOOKADHARDSAWSHAMAINHEREYESBIATS WHYAREYOUEMBARASSED BSEUSEYOULIVINAPALACEANDILIVIN WHATILIVIN ANDWHATDOESTHATMATTR ITMATTERSTOVARYONE NOTTOME SARAHLOKEDHIMSKEPTICALLY THATIWSEASYTOSAY. THENLETMEPROVEITTOYOU. SARAHESITATEDFORALLONGMOMENTFINALLYSHESIGHED. OKAYBUTDON TSAYANYTHING NOMATTERW WHATYOUSEEDON TSAYANYTHING PROMISE THETAXIRIDE BWWASSILENT SARAHGOV ADIRICTION WHYSHEHADN ADIA TWANTEDHIMTOCOME THESTREETSWEREIDFPOTHOLESANDGARBAGEE THEHO USESWEREMAKESHIFTCONSTRUCTIONSOFTINANDCARD ONTHEARSMELLEDOFSEWAGEANDSMOK THETAXISTOPPEDINFORONTOFATHRIBOUTTOLLAPSE YOULIVEHERASTHEDRIVASKEDLOOKINGAROUNDNARVOUSLY YESSARAHREPLIDGETTINGOUTQICKLY RICHARD EFOLLOWEDGERIGNORING THEDRIVER8 SWORRIEDGLANCE BOT SARAHCLIMBEDTHEIXTERNALSTOTHIRDFLOOR RICHARDFOLLOWDBIDNOTICIANGTHEIRSTIAIRDFLORANDGANDSEVERALOFTHGEBOARDSWRAHSTOPPEDINFORONTOFASPLE UTUM THISISMYHOME SHESAIDWITHOUTLOOKING THIMOPENING THELOCKSONEBYONE WHENSHEOPANED TOUSHARD TOUSEALLHISWILLPOWERTOKEEPHISPROMISENOT TOSAYANYT SARAHSROOMWASEXACTLYT HATASINJFLEROMNOBIGGERTHAN 10 B Teams FEET INONECORNERDWASASINGLIBANDTHATHEOKUARTEROFTHESPACOA INANOTHERASIORANEROTIFLYOUTLETINTHEROOM THERWASETNOPRIVATEBATEBROWSETNOWSE SOURSORE HPUTTHNEMEDICINESINTHEREFRIGHTERVOUSMOVEMENTS YOUCANGONOWSHESAIDWITHOUTTURNINGAROUND SARAHPLEASEJUSTGO RIHARDLOOKEDAROUND GSAWTHEGBAREBULBHANGFROMTGESELOTHHEGBOARDBOX EALS, OSAWSOME, TIANTO INGELSE, THEROOMWASIMPECCABLY, CLEAN, DESPITHEDKEPTHERESMALLSPACIDYSAREAIHADKEPTHERESMALLSPACIDYWAYENDDIGINIFIEDSHOWWLIVEDHEHEDGYANIFIEDHERESMALLSPACIDYWAYENDDIGINIFIEDSHOWWLIVE. What HWMUCHDOYOUPAYYNRENT 20,000. For him, it was the equivalent of what I spent on a goo, the bottle of wine. For Sarah, it was more money than she would see in her entire life. Sarah, I already told you, Aiden. 'Twant your charity, she interrupted, but her voice no longer had any strength. She sounded like someone who was drowning. This isn't charity. This is. What is it, Mr. Sterling? Sarah says, filled with tears, share fuse toshed. An investment Richmond swim your good deed of the year. It acts because a care Richards houted loud enough for several people in the waiting room to look at them. Sarah wept Harrius with the back of her hand. People like you sigh that until they get bored. I'm not going to get bored. They all sigh that too. Richard ran his hands through his hair, frustrated. He didn't know how to make her understand that this was different, that she was different. Sarah, look at me, he said, gently taking her by the shoulders. She reluctantly looked up. If he had tuberculosis, would you help me? You wouldn't need my help. You have money. But if he didn't, if I were poor and sick, would you help me? Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Yes, she said finally. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Exactly. And that Sally am doing the right thing. Sarah gently freed herself from his hands. It hurts not the same. Why not? Because when I helped you, I didn't tano keuai or for fakontano. Tano who you were. I didn't know if I had money or not. But you know that I'm poor, and that changes things. How does it change them? Sarah hesitated as if the words were difficult to say. Because it makes me feel like a charity project, like a wounded animal you picked upon thester iet. Richard felt something break in his chest. Sarah, I don't see you like that. How do you see me then? It was a simple question, but Richard realized he didn't. There be a simple answer. How did he see Sarah as a good deed, a way to clear his conscience? I see you as the bravest person, so of horror, so in. We've met, he said finally. Sarah blinked, surprised. I say you as someone who risked her life for a stranger without expecting anything in return. As someone who works every day despite being sick. As someone who smiles despite the pain. Richard paused. I see you as someone who is teaching me how to be a better person. Sarah fell silent, processing his words. Really, she said in a low voice. Really. Sarah looked at the envelope with the Medica reports, then back at Richard. If he accept your help, what will happen when I'm cured? I don't know, Richard admitted. But I'd like to find out. Sarah sighed deeply. Okay, what? I accept your help, but with on more condition. What is it? I want to work to earn at least part of the moan. Why? I don't want at all to be a handout. Richard smiled for the first time all morning. Gee. What kind of work? I don't know anything. Clean your office, cook, whatever. Sarah, you re-sick, you need to rest. I need to feel like earning your help. Richard studied her. He understood her pride, but he also saw how fragile she looked. Okay, he said finally, but nothing strenuous and only when you feel up to it. Deal. They shook hands and Richard felt he was selling something much more important than a work agreement. An hour later they were at the hospital pharmacy buying the medications that would cost more than Sarah H.'s annual salary. Do these pills really cost this much? Sarah asked, looking at the bottles as if they were made of gold. Apparently so, Richard replied, swiping his credit card without even looking at the total. Aren't you going to see how much it is? It doesn't matter how much it is. Sarah looked at him with a mixture of fawi and is comfort. To you, nothing has a price. Tom, your health has no price. Sarah blushed and looked away. She wasn't to someone talking about her as if she were valuable. When they left the pharmacy, Richard offered to take her home. No, Sarah sighed immediately. Why not? Because I don't want you to see we're alive. Sarah Idon Tkair, Iker. Richard looked other and saw Shaman Herea as. Why are you embarrassed? Because you live in a palace and live what live in. And what does that matter? It matters to everyone, not to me. Sarah looked at him skeptically. That's easy to say. Then let me prove it to you. Sarah hesitated for a long moment. Finally she sighed. Okay, but don't say anything. No matter what you see done to say anything. Promise. The taxi ride wasn't. Sarah gave a directions to the driver in a voice that grew quieter and quieter as if she were regretting it. When they arrived at Sarah's neighborhood, Richard understood why she hadn't wanted him to come. The streets were dirt, full of potholes and garbage. The houses were makeshift constructions of tin and cardboard. The air smelled of sewage and smoke. The taxi stopped in front of a 3-story building that looked like it was about to collapse. You live here? The driver asked, looking around nervously. Yes, Sarah replied, getting out quickly. Richard followed her, ignoring the driver's worried glance. Sarah climbed the external stairs to the ard floor. Richard followed, noticing the stairs had no railing and several aloft the boards were rotten. Sarah stopped in front of a splintered wooden door with 3 different padlocks. This is my home, she said without looking at them, opening the locks on beyond. When she opened the door, Richard had to see all his willpower to keep his promise not to say anything. Sarah's room was exactly that, a single room no bigger than 10 by 10 feet. In on a corner was a single bed that took a palm, almost a quarter of the space. In another corner burner stove on a plastic table. A small old refrigerator was plugged into the only outlet in the room. There was no private bathroom, no closet, no windows. Sarah put the medicines in the refrigerator with nervous movements. You can go now, she said without turning around. Sarah, please just go. Richard looked around the room. He saw the damp stains on the walls, the bulb hanging from the ceiling, the clothes neatly folded in a cardboard box. He also saw something else. The room was impeccably clean. Despite the extreme poverty, Sarah had kept her small space to the undignified. How long have you lived here? Asked gently. 2 years. How much do you pay in rent? $400 a month. Richard did some quick mental math. Sarah paid $400 for this room that didn't even have its own bathroom, while he paid $5,000 a month for his penthouse that had more space than he could use. Sarah, look at me. She turned reluctantly. Thank you for trusting me enough to bring me here. Sarah blinked, surprised. You're not going to say anything about this. What do you want me to say? I don't know. That it's horrible. That I can't live like this. That it's undignified. Is that what others have told you? Sarah nodded, her eyes welling up. The boyfriend I had, his friends, everyone. Richard moved closer to her. Sarah, do you want me to tell you what I see? What? I see someone who maintains her dignity no matter the circumstances. I see someone who creates a home out of nothing. I see strength. Sarah looked at him as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Really? Really? Sarah sat on the bed as if her legs could no longer support her. No one has ever said anything like that to me before. Richard sat in the only chair in the room, a plastic chair with a broken leg. Can I ask you something? He said. Yes. Why don't you hate me? Sarah looked at him confused. Why would I hate you? Because I have everything you need and can't have. Because I live in luxury while you live, like this. Sarah considered the question. You know what? At first I did hate you a little. When did you stop hating me? When I saw that you felt genuinely bad for not knowing that people like me existed. And did that change anything? I realized you're not a bad person, you're just ignorant. Richard laughed, despite the seriousness of the conversation. Thanks, I guess. Sarah smiled too. You're welcome. They were silent for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. Richard, Sarah said finally. Yes. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you really helping me? And don't tell me it's because I saved your life. There's something more. Richard looked her in the eyes. It was a question he had been asking himself. Because ever since I met you, I can't stop thinking about you, he admitted. Sarah's heart raced. What does that mean? I don't know, Richard confessed. I just know that when I'm with you, I feel like I'm a better version of myself. Sarah didn't know how to respond to that. Does that make you uncomfortable? Richard asked. It terrifies me, Sarah admitted. Why? Because people like you don't stay with people like me. What if I were different? You're not. How can you be so sure? Sarah looked at him with a deep sadness in her eyes. Because I've fallen in love with someone from another world before, and it always ends the same way. How does it end? With a broken heart and poorer than before. Richard felt something clench in his chest. Sarah, I'm not like the others. They all say that. But it's true. Sarah got up and walked to the small window that overlooked the alley. Richard, you're a good man, but we live in different worlds, and no matter how much we want to, we can't change that. Why not? Because when the novelty of playing savior wears off, you'll go back to your world, and I'll be here maybe cured, but lonelier than before. Richard got up and went to her. What if the novelty doesn't wear off? It will. How can you be so sure? Sarah turned to him, and Richard saw tears in her eyes. Because it always does. At that moment, Richard understood that he wasn't just fighting Sarah's illness. He was fighting against years of disillusionment, abandonment, and broken hearts. And he didn't know if he had the weapons to win that battle. 2 months later, Sarah was no longer coughing up blood. The medications had done their job, and her body was beginning to heal. But something else had changed in those 2 months. She had stopped selling water at traffic lights. Richard had offered her a job at his company. Nothing fancy, he had said. Just organizing files in my office, answering some basic phone calls, simple tasks that will allow you to earn money with dignity while you recover. Sarah had reluctantly accepted, mainly because she needed the money to pay her part of the medical treatment, but also, although she hadn't told anyone, because she liked being near Richard. That Friday morning, Sarah arrived at the office early as always. She had gotten used to the routine. Coffee for Richard at 8 a.m. sharp, organizing his schedule, answering the less important calls. It was an easy job compared to selling water under the sun all day, but what she liked most were the moments when Richard didn't have meetings, and they would sit and talk. "Good morning," she said as she entered his office. Richard looked up from his computer and smiled. It was a smile Sarah had learned to distinguish from his professional smiles. This one was genuine warm. "Good morning, Sarah. How are you feeling today?" "Good. Almost no cough." "I'm glad to hear that." Sarah put the coffee on his desk and noticed he was looking at her in a different way. "What?" she asked. "Nothing. It's just that you look better, healthier." Sarah unconsciously touched her cheek. It was true. She had gained weight, her color had improved, and for the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was about to collapse. "It's thanks to the medicine," she said. "Not just the medicine," Richard replied softly. "It's also because you're not working under the sun all day, because you're eating better, because—" He stopped, as if he had been about to say something he shouldn't. "Because what?" Sarah asked. "Because you're less stressed." Richard finished, though Sarah suspected that wasn't what he had been about to say. For the next few hours, Sarah worked on organizing contract files. It was tedious work, but she liked the quiet of the office, the air conditioning, the feeling of security. At noon, Richard approached her desk. "Want to have lunch with me?" It was a question he had started asking every week, and Sarah always gave the same answer. "I can't. I have to finish these files." "The files can wait. I don't want you to think I'm not taking my job seriously." Sarah. Richard said, sitting on the corner of her desk, "You know you've been working here for 2 months and you've never taken a break longer than 15 minutes. It's just that I want to do my job well. You're doing it perfectly. Too perfectly." Sarah looked at him confused. "How can you do something too perfectly when you work so much that you forget to live?" Sarah laughed. "That's funny coming from you." "Why? Because you work 16 hours a day." Richard fell silent. She was right. "Maybe we both need to learn to live a little more," he said finally. "What do you propose? Lunch, just lunch, as friends?" Sarah hesitated. In the last 2 months, the relationship between them had evolved strangely. It was no longer just the rich man helping the poor woman. They had become close. But Sarah was still careful, maintaining a certain distance. "Okay," she said finally, "but only for an hour." "Just an hour?" Richard agreed, though his smile suggested he hoped it would last longer. They went to a small restaurant 2 blocks from the office. "Nothing fancy." Sarah had insisted a place where she wouldn't feel out of place. "Can I ask you something?" Richard said while they waited for their food. "You always do." "Do you regret quitting selling water?" Sarah considered the question. "Sometimes." "Why?" "Because it was my job. I was independent. I didn't depend on anyone." "And now you do." Sarah looked him directly in the eyes. "I depend on you." "Does that bother you?" "It terrifies me." "Why?" "Because when this little experiment of yours is over, I'll be worse off than before." Richard leaned forward. "Why do you think it's an experiment? It's not Sarah. How many times do I have to tell you that this is real?" "As many times as it takes for me to believe you." Richard sighed. "What can I do to make you believe me?" Sarah played with the napkin on the table. "I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe I'm too damaged to believe." "Who damaged you so much?" Sarah looked out the restaurant window. "Do you really want to know?" "Yes." "His name was Andrew. He was a doctor. I met him when I took my dad to the hospital." Richard felt a pang of something that felt dangerously like jealousy. "He was handsome, smart, educated. Everything a woman like me shouldn't expect." Sarah paused. "At first it was wonderful. He made me feel special, important. He said he didn't care that I was poor." "What happened?" "His family found out. His parents, his friends, his colleagues. They all started pressuring him to break up with me." "And did he?" "Not right away. First he tried to change me. He bought me expensive clothes, took me to etiquette classes, tried to teach me how to fit into his world." Richard felt nauseous. "And what did you do?" "I tried. For love, I tried. But it was never enough. There was always something more to correct, something more to improve. And when my dad got sick and I spent all our savings on his treatment." Sarah didn't finish the sentence, but Richard understood. "He left you. He told me I had proven that I would never be able to think about the future, that I would always put my poor family above our future together." "He said that to you?" Sarah nodded, her eyes glistening. "He told me it had been fun playing Romeo and Juliet, but it was time to be realistic." Richard felt a rage so intense it surprised him. "You know what that man was, an idiot. Or maybe he was right. He wasn't. You know why?" "Why?" "Because what you did for your father, taking care of him until the end, no matter the cost, that shows exactly the kind of person you are. A person who truly loves." Sarah looked at him with surprise. "You think so?" "I know so. And if that Andrew couldn't see that, then he didn't deserve you? Sarah was quiet for a moment. You know what the saddest part is? What? That after that I swore I would never again fall in love with someone from another world. That I had learned my lesson. Richard felt his heart stop. And now? Sarah looked him in the eyes, and Richard saw fear, vulnerability, and something else he didn't dare to name. Now I think I'm dumber than I thought. The moment was interrupted by the waiter bringing their food, but neither of them was hungry anymore. Sarah, Richard said softly. Don't, she interrupted. Don't say anything. Don't make this any easier. Make what easier? Falling in love with you. The words fell between them like a bomb. Sarah immediately covered her mouth, as if she could scoop the words up and swallow them back down. Are you falling in love with me? Richard asked, his voice barely a whisper. Sarah closed her eyes. I shouldn't have said that. Sarah, look at me. I can't. Please. Sarah reluctantly opened her eyes. Are you falling in love with me? Richard asked again. Sarah looked at him for a long moment before answering. Yes. And that scares you. It terrifies me. Why, because I know how this story ends. Richard got up from his chair and sat next to Sarah in the booth. What if this time it was different? It won't be different. How can you be so sure? Sarah turned to him, and Richard saw tears in her eyes. Because people like you don't stay with people like me. And as much as it hurts to admit it, I understand why. Why? Because we live in different worlds. Because your friends will never accept me. Because I'll always be the poor woman you picked up off the street. I don't care what other people think. You don't care now, but you will. Richard took Sarah's hands in his. Sarah, can I tell you something? She nodded. In these last 2 months, I've been happier than in the last 10 years of my life. Sarah blinked, surprised. When I get to the office and see you there working organizing files with that serious concentration you have, it makes me want to smile like an idiot. Richard, let me finish. When we have lunch together and you tell me stories about your childhood, your family, your dreams, I feel like I'm discovering a world I never knew existed. Sarah listened quietly. And when I see you smile, really smile. Sarah, I don't know how to explain it. It's like the world is brighter. Really? Sarah whispered. Really? Sarah gently pulled her hands away. Richard, what you're feeling is guilt. Excuse me. Guilt for having lived so long without seeing how the other half of the world lives. Gratitude because I saved you. Fascination because I'm different from the women in your social circle. Richard frowned. That's not true. Yes, it is. And when those feelings fade, when you get used to my world, you'll realize that what you felt wasn't love. It was just curiosity. Sarah, that's not... Richard. She interrupted, her voice firm but gentle. I want you to listen to me very carefully. What's happening between us is beautiful, but it's also temporary, and we both know it. No, we don't. I do. Richard looked at her with frustration. What can I do to convince you that this is real? Sarah smiled sadly. Nothing. Because the only way to prove it would be with time, and time always proves the opposite. She got up from the table. We should get back to the office. Richard sat there watching as Sarah walked away to the register. He felt as if he had just lost something very precious, though he wasn't sure what it was exactly. When they got back to the office, Sarah immersed herself in her work with an intensity she hadn't shown before. It was as if she wanted to keep her mind busy to avoid thinking. Richard tried to focus on his meetings, but he couldn't stop thinking about their lunch conversation. Sarah was falling in love with him, but she was protecting herself from the pain she believed was inevitable, And him. What did he really feel? The answer came at 5 p.m. when Sarah approached his desk to say goodbye. "I'm leaving now, Richard. Have a good night." "Sarah, wait." She stopped at the door. "Yes. Can we talk tomorrow?" "Really talk." Sarah hesitated. "About what?" "About us." "Richard, I already told you." "Please just hear me out. If after you listen to me you still think this is temporary, I'll respect your decision." Sarah looked at him for a long moment. "Okay," she said finally. "We'll talk tomorrow." When Sarah left, Richard was alone in his office, watching the city lights turn on one by one. For the first time in his life, he found himself wishing for the next day to come, not for a business meeting or a $1 million contract, but for the chance to convince a woman that she deserved to be loved. And that he realized was exactly when he knew he had fallen in love. Saturday morning, Richard hadn't slept. He had stayed up all night thinking about what to say to Sarah, how to convince her that what they felt was real. At 6 a.m., he made a decision that would have seemed impossible 6 months ago. He went to her place. Sarah was surprised to see him standing at her door with 2 coffees and a bag of pastries. "What are you doing here so early?" she asked, still in her pajamas. "I came to talk to you as we promised." Sarah hesitated, but finally let him into her small room. "Here?" Richard asked, looking at the tiny space. "It's my home," Sarah replied with dignity. "If you don't like it—" "That's not it," Richard interrupted. "It's just that I have a better idea." "Which is—" "Do you trust me?" Sarah looked at him suspiciously. "Depends on what. Where do you want to take me?" Richard smiled. "To a place where we can talk without interruptions." An hour later, they were at the beach, 2 hours from the city. Sarah had never been to the beach before, and when she saw the ocean stretching to the horizon, she was breathless. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Like you," Richard said without thinking. Sarah blushed and looked at the water. "Why did you bring me here?" "Because I want you to understand something." "What?" Richard sat on the sand and gestured for her to sit next to him. "Sarah, do you see that wave coming in?" Sarah looked at the water. "Yes." "Do you think it will reach the shore?" "Of course." "How can you be so sure?" Sarah looked at him, as if the question were obvious. "Because it's a wave. That's what waves do." "Exactly. No matter what obstacle it encounters, the wave always reaches the shore because that's its nature." Sarah began to understand where the conversation was going. "Richard, what I feel for you is like that wave, Sarah. No matter what obstacles it finds, what fears you have, what people say, it's going to reach you because that's its nature." Sarah felt her eyes well up with tears. "You can't compare love to a wave." "Why not?" "Because waves are predictable. Love isn't." "Are you sure?" Richard stood up and held out his hand. "Come with me." Sarah hesitated, but took his hand. Richard led her to where the waves touched their feet. "Feel that?" he asked. "The cold water. Every 30 seconds another wave. Every 30 seconds the ocean proves it's still there." Sarah watched the waves come in one after another, constant, predictable. "Sarah," Richard said, turning to her, "every day I see you, every conversation we have, every smile you give me, is another wave proving to me that what I feel is real." "Richard, please don't make this harder." "Harder for whom, for you or for me?" Sarah walked away from the water. "For both of us." "Why does it have to be hard? Why can't it be simple?" "Because nothing is simple when it comes to love between people from different worlds." Richard followed her. "Sarah, can I tell you something?" "What?" "A week ago, my ex-wife called me." Sarah felt a pang of something that felt like jealousy. What did she want? She wanted to know what had happened to me. What do you mean? Monica says that in 6 months I've changed more than in all the years we were married. Sarah frowned. How have I changed? Now I'm on time to pick up my kids. I cancel meetings to go to their soccer games. I cook them breakfast on weekends. That's good. Do you know what else I told her? What? That I learned there are things more important than money. Sarah fell silent. Do you know what she asked me then? What? She asked who taught me that. Sarah looked out at the ocean. And what did you tell her? I told her that a very special woman had saved my life in more ways than I knew. Sarah's heart raced. Richard. Sarah, look at me. She turned to him. I'm in love with you. The words fell between them like bombs. Sarah felt the world stop. Don't say that, she whispered. Why not? Because it's not true. Yes, it is. Richard, you're confused. It's gratitude. Gratitude. Richard moved closer to her. Do you think it's gratitude that makes me wake up thinking of you? Gratitude that makes my day better just by hearing your voice. Sarah backed away. Stop. Please. Do you think it's gratitude that makes me want to protect you? Take care of you, make you happy every day for the rest of my life. Stop, Sarah cried, covering her ears. Richard stopped immediately. Sarah was crying, silent tears that rolled down her cheeks like little rivers of pain. Why are you crying? Richard asked gently. Because I want to believe you, Sarah whispered. Because I want to believe this is real, but I'm so scared. Richard approached slowly and took her hands. Sarah, what's the worst that can happen if you believe me? That you break my heart. And the best that can happen? Sarah looked at him through her tears. That it's real. Is it worth the risk? Sarah was quiet for a long moment, looking at their intertwined hands. Do you really love me? She asked finally. With all my heart. Even though I'm poor, especially because you're you. Even if your family and friends never accept me, then I need new friends. Sarah smiled through her tears. And what if it doesn't work out? And what if it does? Sarah looked into his eyes, and for the first time, Richard saw something he hadn't seen before: hope. I love you too, she whispered. Richard felt the world explode in color. Without thinking, he took her in his arms and kissed her. It was a kiss that tasted of sea salt, happy tears, and unspoken promises. It was Sarah's first kiss that wasn't accompanied by fear. When they parted, Sarah was smiling. What are you thinking about? Richard asked. That maybe waves are predictable after all. 6 months later, Sarah was completely cured. The medical tests showed no trace of tuberculosis in her lungs. She had gained weight, her color had returned, and for the first time in years, she felt completely healthy. She had also quit her job at Richard's office. Why? He had asked when Sarah announced her decision. Because I want us to work, she had replied, and it can't work if I'm your employee. Instead, Sarah had gone back to school. With Richard's help, she had enrolled in a program to finish high school and then study nursing. I always wanted to be a nurse, she had told him. I want to help people like me. That Sunday morning, Sarah woke up in the room they now shared. Richard had insisted she move in with him, but Sarah had insisted on a neutral place, a small but comfortable apartment he had rented for both of them. Good morning, Richard murmured, hugging her from behind. Good morning, Sarah replied, snuggling against his chest. How does the future nurse feel? Sarah smiled nervously. The entrance exam is tomorrow. You'll pass with your eyes closed. How can you be so sure? Because you're the smartest, most determined person I know. Sarah turned in his arms. Richard. Yes. Do you ever regret it? Regret what? Falling in love with a poor woman? Richard looked at her seriously. Sarah, can I tell you something? Always. You were never poor. Sarah frowned. What do you mean? Rich and poor isn't measured in money. It's measured in here, he said, touching her heart. And you have always been the richest person I've ever known. Sarah felt her eyes fill with tears. Really? Really? They kissed, and Sarah felt the same magic she had felt that day on the beach. Sarah, Richard said when they parted. Yes, I want to ask you something. What? Richard got out of bed and knelt beside her. He took a small velvet box from the nightstand drawer. Sarah sat up immediately, her eyes wide. Richard, what are you doing? Sarah Miller. Richard said, opening the box to reveal a simple but beautiful ring. Will you marry me? Sarah gasped. Are you serious? I've never been more serious in my life, but I have nothing to offer you. You have everything I want. What? Your heart, your soul, your love, your way of seeing the world, your ability to find beauty in simple things. Sarah was crying again, but these were tears of pure happiness. Is that a yes? Richard asked nervously. Yes, Sarah whispered. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Richard placed the ring on her finger and kissed her as if it were the first time. When they parted, Sarah looked at the ring on her hand. You know what the craziest part of all this is, she said. What? That it all started because you fainted on a sidewalk. Richard laughed. Best heart attack of my life. Richard. Yes. Thank you. For what? For teaching me that fairy tales do exist. Thank you for teaching me that true love does too. They stayed in each other's arms, watching the sunrise from the window of their small apartment. A year later, they married in a small ceremony on the beach where they had confessed their love. Sarah wore a simple dress she had chosen herself, and Richard had never been happier. In his speech during the reception, Richard said something Sarah would never forget. A year and a half ago, I had a heart attack that almost killed me. I thought it was the worst thing that could have happened to me. Now I know it was the best because it led me to Sarah. And Sarah taught me that true love knows no differences in money, social class, or past. It only knows the heart. 2 years later, when Sarah graduated as a nurse, Richard was in the front row clapping louder than anyone. And when they opened the free clinic Sarah had dreamed of where she treated people who couldn't afford a doctor, Richard knew he had found the best possible use for his money. They had proven that true love can not only cross any barrier, but can also transform lives, heal hearts, and create miracles. Sarah never again had to choose between eating and getting well, and Richard never again measured his life in money. They had both learned that true wealth is found in the love you give and receive.